On the other hand, if the sequester passes, there will be real cuts to discretionary spending. Here's a graph of that. But discretionary, including military, that's only a third of the budget. It's still not that big a cut.
The other interesting thing, John, is that the cuts in discretionary spending, if you look at them by themselves, it's really only in the first year or so, and then they rise too.
To quote you, only in Washington could an increase in $7 trillion over 10 years be called a cut.
Well, and I've come up with a proposal that I call sequestration without layoffs. And what we propose is, why don't we not rehire anybody who retires? That's about 100,000 federal workers a year, saves $6 billion. Why don't we pay federal workers the same as we pay private workers? That'd be about 16% less than we pay them now. That saves $32 billion. Why don't we cut their travel budget by 25%? That saves another $2 billion. And then if we do competitive wages and competitive bidding for contractors, that's another $19 billion. You can cut out the entire sequester without losing a single job. Although I do think probably government does need to be smaller. You could actually do it without cutting any jobs if you wanted to.
Time's expired. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Turner, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, it is literally lights out at our military bases. Next to me is a photo that ran the other weekend in my hometown newspaper, which shows darkened hallways at the largest Air Force base in the world, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There wasn't a lack of power at the base that day, but a lack of leadership here in Washington. The lights were out because the Senate and the President have failed to take up the issue of sequestration.
But this new little fight that's erupted over a sub-issue, which is how the across-the-board cuts would affect defense, I thought that was a perfect microcosm to understand the bigger issue and also to really show the dysfunction in Washington.
And there's plenty of that right now. Absolutely.
Plenty of that right now.
Yeah.
The Republicans are trying to make a big issue about the defense cuts, the $54 billion, what it would mean to defense jobs. And so what they're pushing is, they're saying, let's just push this off for a whole year till cooler heads prevail next year.
And how is the Obama administration really rebutting that? What are they doing?
Well, they acknowledge there are going to be serious defense cuts. That is, cuts in defense contractors, civilian defense workers, all defense contracts.
The Secretary of Defense has ordered the military to prepare for stiff budget cuts. Now, Congress has postponed the deadline for sequestration until March, but Leon Panetta says he can't wait for lawmakers to resolve budget issues, and he is skeptical that an agreement will be reached. 10 on your side's Art Kahn has been following this story since it broke last night. He joins us now from our newsroom. So, Art, this is serious for national security and for our local economy.
No question about it, Stephanie. Defense Secretary Panetta told his staff to get ready for the possibility that the Pentagon will be hit with about $50 billion in budget cuts in less than 2 months. The Defense Department is making preparations to reduce America's military presence in the air, at sea, and on land. Panetta said last night that if the current resolution to delay sequestration is extended for the remainder of the fiscal year, DOD's budget will be cut by about $11 billion. Sequestration would cut another $18 billion from operations and maintenance accounts, with another $11 billion needed to fund operations in Afghanistan.